Yavo Ezri. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? You know my help, it comes from God who made heaven and earth. Esainai El Harim Me'ayin Yavo Vesur heavy, Esa enai el heharim me'ayin yavo ezri. Esa enai el heharim me'ayin yavo ezri. Esa enai el heharim me'ayin yavo ezri. Esa enai el heharim Me'ai Yavo Ezri Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz Esa Einai El Heharim Me'ai Yavo Ezri I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where, oh, where does my help come from? I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where, oh, where does my help come from? You know my help, it comes from God who made heaven and earth. Esa Einai El Heharim Me'ayin Yavo Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom from the Rockoffs.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope that you were able to discern that those Shabbat Shaloms were one of the very first of these pandemic services that we've been streaming, and how far we've come, how much we've grown, how much in our world has changed. I was driving my route to wherever I was going yesterday, and I drove past Ira B. Jones Elementary School, and it was just at the time of recess. And I passed by and I saw children playing in the playground, and I stopped myself for a moment and said, this is the most ordinary, miraculous thing ever. And I just paused. And this is what life feels like right now. It feels like we're still in this strange world of pandemic, and yet we're seeing little tiny bits, hints of the ordinariness, the holy, the sacred ordinariness that might yet return and visit with us. So a little bit of that is visiting this evening. We're making a big change. Take a look. Seth and I in the same space with you. Soon, actually, with you. But this is our little baby step. And what a miraculous, beautiful, ordinary, but so not ordinary, extraordinary, really, moment this is. I feel a Shahafiano coming on, but I think even better than that is the selection that Seth has chosen to open our service with today, which is Ki Yashmera Shabbat El Yishmereni, which means if we guard Shabbat, if we keep doing this Shabbat, then the divine will guard us. And I sort of feel like this is a moment that I'm remembering that we stuck it out. We did these crazy things in our homes, set up all around the temple, and now we have been guarded such that we can make this return. So please join us in this special Ki Yashmera Shabbat. invite you to gather your candles if you have them and join in welcoming Shabbat. It grows dark. I light 2 candles and drink a sip of wine, and the world changes for one day if I let it. There will be music and friendship and food if I allow it. There will be Torah and wisdom and godness if I permit it. There will be quiet and napping and deep rest if I open to it. There will be study and expansion and new ideas if I consent to it. There will be prayer and blessings and meditation if I give into it. There will be hope and renewal and clarity if I walk toward it. If I let it, if I allow it, if I permit it, if I open up to it, if I consent to it, if I give into it, if I walk toward it, the world changes for one day. Shabbat happens if I let it.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lecha likner shel Shabbat.
We continue with the singing of Shalom Aleichem, greeting these special angels that visit us on Shabbat. There are many legends about the angels, but I just invite you to call to mind for this moment somebody who is an angel along your path this week, someone who assured you that everything's going to be all right. That's the angel that you can greet in this moment.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Satan l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Et Adonai HaMevorach, Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach.
Please join me now in our prayer for creation. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Bore yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi layla umavdil ben yom uvein layla. Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shokbeinu u'v'kumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu Ve'orech yameinu U'vahem neged yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatcha tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
One of the things that has been so essential for me in surviving this pandemic is to realize the interconnectedness of all things, the oneness of all things, that we're not alone, that each and everything is connected by the tissue of the divine. And that is what we affirm when we chant the Shema. You may rise if you wish, and you may also sit, and hopefully you can tap in and feel the connection yourself.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam bam B'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu bein einecha u'chetabtam al mezuzot beitecha ubisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. I lost my printout. Give me 1 second. Did I leave it with you?
Maybe.
There it is. Freedom. It isn't once to walk out under the Milky Way, feeling the rivers of light, the fields of dark. Freedom is daily, prose-bound, routine remembering, putting together inch by inch the starry worlds from all the lost collections. Mi chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה אדוני לא לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטר בקודש. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני With Hashkivenu, we ask for peace, for safety, for shelter as we lay down in the evening and as we rise up. And I think that as an adult, I forgot the importance, the importance of those feelings until becoming a parent. And then all of those needs of the sensation of peace in the evening came flooded back to me. And this prayer has such great importance. Renewed.
Barucheinu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamideinu Shomreinu L'Chaim Baruch atah Adonai Haporei Sukat Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim Amen.
A few weeks ago, Seth invited us to think about the fact that we have two songs that usually go in this slot in the service, one that talks about guarding Shabbat and one that talks about the joy of Shabbat. And it occurs to me that Yismachu, which emphasizes the joy of Shabbat, also talks about guarders of Shabbat, the Shomrei Shabbat, us. The Shomrei Shabbat find the joy. So tap into your joy as you join us in singing Yismachu.
Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei Oneg Shabbat Mikadeshei Mikadesh Shvi Shabbat Kulam Yispe'u V'yitlumetu V'chashabat Yisme'u V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat V'korei Oneg Shabbat Yisme'u V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei Oneg Shabbat Uvashvihi Ratzita bo v'kidashtu Shabbat Chemdan Ya'amim Oto karata Shabbat Yisme'u V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei Oneg Shabbat Zeher Lema'aseh Bereshit Shabbat Zecher Lema'aseh Bereshit Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei Oneg Shabbat.
Please rise for the tefillah. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Be seated. Help me to silence my mind's aggravation alarm, to quiet the voice that says the to-do list matters, to temporarily eschew continuous partial attention. Open me to long, slow conversations on the sunlit grass, to the beat of the hand drummers who accompany the singing of psalms, to a boat lazily drifting on the glassy surface of my heart's own pond. You're waiting for me like a lover, eager to embrace me again. Remind me, this is the way back to Eden, the bloom on the 13-petaled rose.
Say, Adonai Eloheinu, Le'amcha Yisrael. Say, Adonai Eloheinu, Le'amcha Yisrael. U'tefilatam, u'tefilatam, אהבת תקבל, ותפילתם, ותפילתם, באהבת תקבל, זה אדוני אלוהינו, לעמך ישראל, וזה אדוני אלוהינו, רצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך. יוצא אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל. אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
It is a kind of love, is it not? How the cup holds the tea, how the chair stands sturdy and foursquare, how the floor receives the bottom of shoes or toes, how soles of feet know where they're supposed to be. I've been thinking about the patience of ordinary things, how clothes wait respectfully in closets, and soap dries quietly in the dish, and towels drink the wet from the skin of the back, and the lovely repetition of stairs. And what is more generous than a window?
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'neinecha livarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
At this time, we call to our hearts and our minds, and we mention in our prayers now all of those people who are in need of God's healing presence as we join in our prayer of healing and renewal, Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
From our congregational families, we pray for Chris Argall, Nancy Ash, Jennifer Beck, Mindy Beller, Chanalea Bat Devora, Betty Cohen, Amy Cooper, Richard Eisen, Andrew Fisher, Dean Gavney, Jacob Gluckman, Roger Gluckman, Gabby Goldberg, Stuart Goodman, Tom Gosnell, Alicia Good, Ramesh Gupta, Bert Horwitz, Laurel and Wally Jonas, Jean Nofel, Chris Kuntz, Lily Mergentime, Bill Rockamora, Bert Rothman, Jim Rudisill, Deborah Sanders, Julie Sherman, Shoshana Slatke, Dakota Rose Zeman, Matthew Treehub, Bob Ward, and Marlene Wexelblatt. And from the chat, we think of also these:
Christine Leslie, Mimi Genet, Diana Kleinman, Susan Barber, Patch Haley, Selena Stewart, Jimmy Danner, Jane Ring, Susan Freeman, Lee Capps, Gloria Cohen, Kimberly Gibson, Ellen Green, Karen Sanders, Sheila Crandall, and Pat Cairns.
Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We share a few moments now in silence.
Yehiyu leratzon imrei fi. Yehiyu leratzon imrei fi. V'egyon libi levanecha. Adonai tzuri v'goali. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you. O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Oh, say shalom bimroma. Say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
It was a hard week in the world. Last night, 8 were murdered in a mass shooting in Indianapolis. The tragic shooting of Daunte Wright led an already tense and heartbroken city of Minneapolis into renewed protests. In Chicago 2 weeks ago, 13-year-old Adam Toledo was shot by law enforcement after disarming himself. And as if gun violence, police brutality, and the persistence of racism are not tragic and anxiety-provoking enough, I recently read about another spreading source of distress, eco-anxiety, the persistent worrying many of us feel about the future of our planet, which is especially plaguing children and older adults, along with vulnerable and indigenous communities who are already experiencing the deleterious effects of a warming planet. And while in Asheville we are enjoying a reprieve from the global COVID pandemic and are busily making plans on how and when to return to temple, 38 of the 50 United States are seeing hotspots of surges and ICU bed shortages. Indeed, it is hard to find shelter from the veritable alphabet soup of woes in which we find ourselves swimming. And reading this week's Torah portion isn't much of a distraction or a pick-me-up either. In it, we read about tzara'at, a scaly skin affliction that warrants the sufferer, a metzora, to be quarantined outside the camp. Tzara'at is commonly translated as leprosy, but is more akin to psoriasis than it is to Hansen's disease. But since the Torah instructs the priests to diagnose, quarantine, and declare when a diseased person was cured, the rabbis jumped to an interesting conclusion, presuming that tzara'at must have actually been a spiritual malady and not a purely physical one. In other words, leprosy, they believed, was a condition of an ailing soul rather than simply a diseased body. And in typical rabbinic creative fashion, the rabbis use wordplay to land on their understanding of why one might contract leprosy. They taught that a metzora, a leopard, was one who motzi shem ra, which sounds like metzora, or an acronym for metzora. And a motzi shem ra is someone who brings about a bad name. In other words, tzara'at was the punishment for having a cruel tongue. When you think about it, our power of speech distinguishes us from every other living being on this planet. In fact, in one of the Aramaic translations of our Torah's creation story, what God blew into the nostrils of Adam that made him come alive was ruach mamlela, the spirit of speaking. Our speech, we learn, like God's, creates worlds, but can also destroy them. Consequently, the rabbis spill enormous amounts of ink on the murderous power of lashon hara, the evil tongue, and impose very strict standards for our speech. Suffice it to say, they set the bar very high for what is appropriate to talk about. Perhaps that's why they also included in our daily liturgy a plea to God to help us guard our tongues from slander and our mouths from evil speech. At the same time, there's an interesting story in Midrash Rabbah about a peddler who went from town to town selling something he was calling the Elixir of Life. And when Rabbi Yanai, as the Midrash says, tried to buy some of this potion, the peddler pulled out a Bible and said, "Your people," referring to the Jews, "don't need what I'm selling. As it says here in Psalm 34, who is the man that desires life, who loves his days and sees the good? Guard your tongue from evil and your lips from deceit." The obvious moral to this story is that the secret to a long life is to steer clear of lies, slander, and gossip. Don't be a motzi shem ra. But I think that perhaps the converse is even truer. Healthy living is not simply about avoiding bad speech. We are more apt to delight in life by proliferating good speech. In fact, we might even say we have a responsibility to do so. After a hard week, a hard month, after a hard year, after a year filled with tragedy and death and challenges and loss, a year we've been inundated also with lies, slander, bent truths, a year where conspiracy and mistruths were as contagious as COVID, where repeating and retweeting rumors and hearsay was de rigueur. I would like to dedicate tonight to the endeavor of motzi shem tov, of speaking well of you. When Jews observe Tisha B'Av, the rabbis teach us that we must transform the sinat chinam, the baseless hatred that caused the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, into ahavat chinam, baseless love, in order to restore our spirits. And similarly tonight, I'd like to zoom out the lens of our experience such that we might see more than just the broken and painful parts. Tonight, I'd like to shine a light on the good. And you never know, from this, perhaps more good will emerge. So first, I'd like to share how struck I am that since the beginning of this pandemic, 11 students celebrated their B'nai Mitzvah. Many after learning a second Torah portion and writing a second Devar Torah. And not one of our 7th grade students thus far has elected to skip it, despite the conditions and the challenges of this moment. And this is particularly impressive when I compare that record to the experience colleagues of mine have had in other areas of the country. We also are proud to have 7 graduating high school seniors this year who, despite a year and a half of closures due to COVID, likewise didn't take the easy way out of temple life. Instead, they stepped up even more, staying on as madrichim and teaching our younger students online. If that wasn't remarkable enough, ever since I came to Asheville, finding Hebrew and religious school teachers has been hit or miss. For a while, it was a rare year that we had all of our faculty in place by the start of school. And this year, we were fully staffed with dedicated teachers, some of whom also teach all week long online. Equally impressive are our religious school parents, who for many months, some even today, struggle Monday through Friday just supervising their kids' online school. And so many of them chose to stay committed to doing the same with their children on Sundays. A tall order indeed. I'm so proud of Seth's creativity and the energy and the love he transmits over the ether waves, if that's a word, on Sundays and Wednesdays to our religious school families, on Tuesday mornings at the morning minyan, and the occasional congregational Havdalah. The learning and progress he's making in his cantorial studies shines every time he steps on the bima. And when singing became one of the most dangerous activities there were during this pandemic, Sarah Kim found the ways to keep Kol Simcha, our volunteer choir, engaged, and continues to record new choir pieces every month that deepen our services so meaningfully. Billy's energy carried us through 2 Pesach Seders, the High Holy Days, Sukkot, and many B'nai Mitzvah services, and he's kept our religious school students toe-tapping and singing all religious school year long. Our brotherhood continued to schmooze with sandwiches at their homes on Zoom and nourished the whole congregation with those amazing bagel boxes. Our sisterhood never stopped having ambitious programming, but also started new things like Rosh Chodesh celebrations every other month. How grateful we are that they managed to open the gift shop not only for Hanukkah, but for Passover. 20 people are regularly gathering for Torah study on Mondays at lunchtime, some people joining by phone from their offices. More people are getting curious and attending Zoom meditation hours and retreats that I offer. The Tikkun Olam Committee didn't shy away from their work to repair the world. Their programming of late has been vital in today's soul searching concerning the prevalence of racism and privilege in our community. Our caring community circle has showered us with their love by sending cards, delivering chicken soup, mishloach manot, and meals to all kinds of people in our congregation, Even without the assistance of the CCC, people who live alone have formed support systems with other people living on their own. People who lost children in years past connected with recently bereaved parents. Everyone is struggling, and everyone is doing the best they can, and everyone has shown their enormous capacity for compassion, patience, and forgiveness. We have not had to tell you to stop giving, like Moses did at the end of the book of Exodus, but it is nothing short of inspiring that on the whole, all of you answered the call to be generous this year in unprecedented ways so that our temple could remain operating at full capacity even as we pivoted from our normal routines. Our temple board has been busily trying to maintain all of the changes and grow with all of the growings. And they have called every one of our members on several occasions to maintain a solid handle on the pulse of our membership. And speaking of having a solid handle, besides being an amazingly strong hand at the rudder in our office, Buffy Skolnick also found time to sew 4,000 masks to keep people healthy and safe during this pandemic. She is one of many individuals who chose to share their talents in service to others by making masks, bringing meals, fashioning uplifting artwork, assisting for countless hours, building our audio-visual capabilities so that our services reach you and are vibrant while we are virtual. And can I tell you how important it is to me and the whole team that you keep coming? None of us would have survived without you, without seeing you populate the Facebook page and the YouTube, and seeing you chatting and telling us when the volume was too low or when something was different and you were delighted. You are the reason that we do what we do. You being here is how we experience life as being meaningful. And you should remember that every time you sign on and pray with us until we can be together. I'm sure that my attempt to shine light and magnify all the stories of kindnesses, stories of folks going above and beyond, of digging deep, of surprising themselves and others is incomplete. And I would be grateful for you to share with me the ones that I missed tonight. This week in Torah study, someone asked me what we can do about the cavalier and dangerous speech so prevalent in the world in which we live today. I didn't have a great articulate answer then, but I know that the answer is not to ignore it or decide that we can't beat them, so we might as well join them. Perhaps the most powerful thing we can do is train ourselves to motzi shem tov, to lift up that which is good any chance that we get, to share, post, write, speak of all that is right and beautiful in our lives. Not to turn away from that which is painful, but to give voice to the presence of goodness too, and the possibility that we can and will repair and redeem this world together. Shabbat Shalom. I invite you now to rise as we count the Omer.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer. Hayom esrim yom shehem shnei
Shavuot Ve'isha Yamim LaOmer. Today is the 20th day, totaling 2 weeks and 6 days of the Omer.
We continue to remain standing for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu ki yeharatzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. One day this all will change, treat people the same, stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom like one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day.
Our thoughts turn now to all of those who have departed, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and our neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives are a blessing to humanity. We mention by name Penny Lidekin, sister-in-law of Susan and David Leader, who passed away in recent days. And we honor the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of the passings of Sadie Arno, Sam Druck, Max Fishman, Roxanne Jaffe, Milton Metzger, Marshall Minner, Richard Nalick, Maurice Rothman, Earl M. Schreier, Harry Shapiro, Hilda Tannenbaum, and Sidney Tannenbaum. Are there additional names?
Virginia Russo-Lilio.
If you are in mourning, I invite you to rise, or if it is your custom, to stand as we join together in the mourner's Kaddish, grateful to God for the gifts of life and memory. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam olamei amayam. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'ale v'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen.
Ve'imru, 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 amen. Ve'imru, 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 amen.
Good evening. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Shannon Tuck, representing the CBHT Board of Trustees. Thank you all for joining us this evening. And thank you to Seth and Rabbi, as always, for a lovely service. Now I have some announcements to share. The Stock Market Madness Challenge has begun. If you entered the challenge, please be ready for live Zoom updates on Saturday evenings at 8:30 p.m. You should have gotten an email with the Zoom link today, but updates will go out via email after each live update. Let the office know if you're not getting the emails and you purchase certificates, and good luck to everyone. We have two great modern Midrash events coming up. This coming Monday the 19th at 7 p.m., please join us for CBHT Teens Pour Their Hearts Out. This is where our teens will explore how the last year has impacted them personally. Let's show up and let them know that we hear them. Then on Sunday, April 25th, please join us for A Teacher Speaks from the Art, where Linda Altschuler will speak with Roberta Birkin about her many years working with special needs children. We invite all educators to be part of this event and join us in discussion. Links for both registrations are in your email. Sisterhood is hosting a watercolor workshop with member and artist Linda Altschuler on April 20th at 7 p.m. Register at the link in your Tuesday email, and you can pick up supplies on the 18th. This will be a great opportunity to exercise your creative muscles or try something totally new. Along the Jewish community of Western North Carolina, we offer you the opportunity to participate in Words to Action, an interactive program designed to empower middle and high school students and their families to constructively and effectively address any form of anti-Semitism that they may encounter. The program is run by the ADL, a 100-year-old global anti-hate organization founded to protect the Jewish people in their fight against hate and to secure justice for all. This 2-hour virtual program, scheduled for April 25th at 1 p.m., will give students and their families the tools that they need to strengthen capacity and build confidence when responding to any hate incidents or harassment that they may experience. Don't miss this important program. And then lastly, we're back. Join us this Sunday for Kahila Tefillah on our Facebook page at 9:30 a.m., followed by religious school. This next Friday evening is Kabbalat Shabbat services at 7:30 p.m. with Rabbi, Seth, and Sarah Kim. Shabbat Shalom.
Please join Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. And let's join together for our closing song, Rise in Your Home, and let's sing Adon Olam together.
Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Hashem Allah,
Hashem Allah,
B'terem Kol,
B'terem Kol,
Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa, B'chefsa Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nigra Adon Olam, V'yacharei Kichlot HaKol, Leva'ado Yimloch Nara Adon Olam, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yeh B'tifara Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Hashem Allah,
Hashem Allah,
B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa, B'chefsa Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nigra Adon Olam, V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni, Lecham Shilo Lehabira Adon Olam, Beli Reshit, Beli Tachlit, V'lo Ha'oz B'cham Mizra Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Hashem Allah,
Allah,
B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa, B'chefsa Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nigra Adon Olam, V'hu Eli, V'chai Goali, V'chor L'zi B'yetzara Adon Olam, V'hu Nisi, Numanosni, Benat Kosi Bayom Ekra Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa, B'chefsa Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nigra Adon Olam, V'yado Api Ruchi, Li'et Ishan Le'a'ira Adon Olam, Ve'im Ruchi Giviyati Adon Olam Lo Ira Adon Olam Adon Olam Hashem Allah
Hashem Allah,
B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefsa Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nigra Adon Olam. Shabbat Shalom.